Suicide it's a big one. It's a tough one. Definitely men are overrepresented, unfortunately. And there are different reasons for that. Sometimes the reason is just men choose, unfortunately, more lethal means to attempt. So while it may not be men more often attempt, maybe men more often, unfortunately, complete suicide. It's something that tends to be present in a lot of mental health difficulties when they get quite bad. It's a bit like a parasitic delusion. What I mean by that is the thought, I should kill myself, becomes a bit of a thought parasite. And it is, of course, a delusion. We shouldn't kill ourselves. Therefore, it's delusional. But it becomes an obsessive thought. If you suspect someone you love might be suicidal, the most important thing is to ask the question. Just ask them, are they suicidal? The reason for that is because if they're in that deep, dark, scary place and you ask them, are you feeling suicidal? They're not alone in there anymore. And that is an incredible gift to give somebody. Because if the answer is yes, it makes it so much less dark and so much less scary. It's a very dark and scary place to be in there alone. But if someone you love and trust is in there with you, all of a sudden it opens a dialogue. That's not to say that that will keep someone from completing suicide. It's not as though individuals who've completed suicide never had someone ask them. If you suspect that someone is at risk of taking their own life, there are some very specific things that it's important to do. The first thing is to ask, and it can be scary and it can be hard, and it's okay to practice. It's okay if there's someone you feel comfortable with to practice on them. If you don't feel comfortable, bathroom mirror, anywhere that you feel like you can just, G yourself up to be able to say it. When you do come to ask this person if they're feeling suicidal and the answer is yes, it's then important to ask them, have they thought about how they would do it? And if the answer is yes, do they have what they need to do it? If they've thought about how and they have the thing that they need to do it, it's then really important to ask, have they set a date and a time? Have they thought about when? If that person has set a date and time and it's coming up pretty soon, 24 hours, that person does need to be placed for their own safety in a psychiatric facility where they can be kept safe to keep them from following through. We know from the research that's a really critical period. Those 24 hours are really quite high risk, highest risk. If the answer is yes and it's a longer period of time, there's some space there, some room for conversation. If the answer to any of those questions is no, again, space for conversation. They're tough conversations, but they could save someone's life. They could save the life of someone you love. And there's many, many, many resources. There are suicide hotlines out there that would be happy to talk to you as the supportive friend or family member or loved one on how to have that conversation. If you're speaking to a loved one and they reveal to you that they do not want to get help, they tell you that they don't want to get help, the fact that they are sharing with you that this is their plan and this is their intention is a small signal of hope that they're saying they don't want to get help. But it's okay to give them help. It's okay to call the police. If they have a clinician or a clinical milieu that they're working with, it's okay to reach out to them. Don't leave that person alone. Stay with them. Keep them safe if you can. If it's a situation where you feel your safety's at risk, it's a different situation, right? But if you feel you're in a place where you can keep them safe and you can get them help, it would be a miraculous thing to do. The thing that I like to ask when individuals say they're scared to ask the question, what's the worst that could happen? So a lot of people believe that if they ask someone, "Are you suicidal?" they're giving them the idea. It doesn't work like that. If someone is in a really bad place, they've thought about it. And bringing it up gives them permission to talk about it. It does weigh heavily on the people around us who love us. How hard it is to watch someone and to feel helpless and powerless and to want to help but to not be able to. There's a phrase in Al-Anon, and it's detach with love. And it's a lifelong spiritual practice, learning to find a way to continue loving someone just as fiercely, but to not feel attached to the outcome of their recovery. It's the journey of our lives. It's the work that we all have to do.